When I did the pre-order for my Power Armor 19, I also ordered a cheap case from another seller on AliExpress. The phone came fast, but as we know these other cheaper items, they'll take their time coming over here. Well, it's finally here, so let's take a look at this cheap case I bought for $5. So why bother with this cheap case? Well, we all know these phones don't have any options in terms of case choices. We can use what Ulefone provides, which is a hard plastic shell that leaves the buttons exposed. But it has lanyard attachments. These work for their intended purpose very well. I have one for my Power Armor 13, but it makes it extra bulky, and if you don't have a use for the lanyards or the belt clips, you're just carrying around extra bulk. The reason why I went with a TPU bumper case was that these types of phones usually have very slippery sides. That's because they're made of metal. In addition to that, the buttons are easily pressed by accident because the weight of the phone shifting in your hand creates enough pressure on the buttons to trigger a button press. Having a rubber bumper case around the buttons and the sides make the buttons a bit more recessed and less prone to accidental presses. One company that did this really well was Unihertz when they released a bumper style case for their rugged Titan keyboard phone. It turns out that the Power Armor 19 has buttons that are a little bit more recessed than the others. The Power Armor 19's side buttons stick out 0.4 millimeters, while the Power Armor 13 comes to 0.9, the black view at 0.8, and the Unihertz Titan at a full 1 millimeter. It turns out that the Power Armor 19 has the lowest profile side buttons of all the rugged phones that I've owned. So based on my previous rugged phone choices, I expected to have the same experience with the slippery sides and accidental button presses. But so far, I've been pretty comfortable handling the Power Armor 19. On a closer inspection, I noticed that not only were the buttons more recessed versus the others, but the edge around the buttons were also more rubberized on the sides compared that to the others, which has metal all around, which makes gripping it a more slippery experience. With a case on the Power Armor 19, it does feel more grippy to the hand, and the material is soft enough that the buttons can be pressed comfortably, and it does help with accidental presses even though the buttons were already recessed. The case fit around the phone very nicely and installs easily without having to strain your fingers to get it around. The only minor flaw I see is that the holes for the 4 camera openings didn't exactly line up. There might be a half a millimeter off. It's noticeable, but it doesn't really bother me too much. As for the design, it's very plain and it just looks like a basic shiny black phone. And personally, I like the rugged design on the back of this Power Armor 19 very much. So I won't even be using this case given that the design of the phone already makes it very grippy and comfortable, and I'm not really having that many issues with the accidental button presses as my previous phones. But if you want extra protection and a little bit extra confidence in holding it and be more confident it holds up to a drop, it's worth the $5, but I won't be using it on this phone.